Hello, everyone, and welcome to Overtime. My name is Nick Soutter, and this is the rundown. It's been an interesting, it's been an interesting week. So let's. I'm actually going to switch us to over here, and then let's see what we've got. All right. So. All right, over the last few days, tensions between Israel and Hamas and other Palestinian militants in the Gaza Strip have risen dramatically. Israel has been sending in air forces and possibly ground forces. We'll get into that in a minute. And let's see. The Gaza Strip has retaliated. The UN Security Council was scheduled to discuss the matter on Friday, but the United States has objected and pushed the meeting back to Sunday. Netanyahu has said, and presumably this is unrelated, Netanyahu has said that the campaign against the Palestinian militants and against Hamas will take more time because they have not yet been dealt strongly enough to deter them from future action. And he would not negotiate peace until this is accomplished. This is unfortunately a kind of a common thing. We have veto power on the UN Security Council and regularly use it to Israel's benefit. The UN does wish to discuss trying to find a way to make peace, and Netanyahu in this case is all but saying he is going to refuse until he has punished Hamas enough for what he feels they are doing. This actually started about a month ago. Basically, with the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, Palestinians were complaining that the Israeli police were enacting unnecessarily severe restrictions and blocking access to the Old City, a traditional destination after evening prayers. This led to an increase in communal violence in general, and then a number of videos of harassment and attacks between Jews and Palestinians started going viral on social media. In late April, things escalated even further when hundreds of far-right Israelis marched down city streets chanting, quote, "Death to Arabs," and began instigating with the Palestinians. On this Monday, there was supposed to be a court ruling on the eviction of dozens of Palestinians from East Jerusalem. They were to be evicted and their homes to be given to Jewish settlers. There was also supposed to be a parade by Israeli nationalists going through Muslim neighborhoods in the Old City, celebrating the capture of the city in 1967. This parade was called off because tensions were so high, and the court decision was postponed so as to avoid inflaming tensions any further. However, it appears that this was too late, and violence erupted very quickly after. Israel is reporting now having carried out over 600 airstrikes. The Palestinian Health Ministry is reporting 69 dead and 388 wounded. Meanwhile, Hamas has fired over 1,750 rockets at Israel. However, as many as 300 of those rockets have fallen short, landing on their own people in the Gaza Strip. Nonetheless, it appears that they have killed over 110 Israelis and more than 30 of them children. Now, what you see here is some footage of some of the violence that we've been seeing. You see that down on the bottom right, and I will keep showing that. A lot of this is just smaller skirmishes. These are the skirmishes that led up to the actual formal attacks that have now started. And let's see, what we also have here is, this is, that we're about to show you here, this is, get for you now, hold on one second, because this is missing. Oh, this is interesting. All right, well, that's going to change things. All right, so it looks like, oh, I wonder if, oh, okay, all right, well, at least we're still broadcasting. For whatever reason, the controls have just vanished. They are gone. Poof. Gone, like the funds from a defunct YouTube channel. So I actually can't, I seem to have lost. I'm going to try to, nope, so I can't bring up the videos that we have, at least not easily. I may take another stab at it in a minute, but most of the control buttons are not displaying for some reason. So let me give this one more shot to bring this up. And if I can get the panel to refresh, which I can't, this is really odd. Okay, well, at any rate, so what we do have, you know what I can do? I can put it in the full screen. So I'm going to put into the full screen several pieces of footage. So let's do that. What you're about to see here is the destruction of the Hamas Internal Security Services building in Raqqa, and that is that right there. All right, and then this here is Gaza. This is what you're actually seeing here. All of those rockets, most of those are fake rockets. And what you're seeing is Gaza, militants in Gaza launching a number of fake rockets with the legit rockets in an attempt to confuse the air defense systems in Israel. So you're seeing a large barrage of, let's see if we can play that one more time there. You're seeing a large barrage of rockets going up in an attempt to stop the interceptors from taking down the genuine, the actual armaments. So let's see. We also have a similar strategy being played out here. There we go. And then what you're going to see now is a suburb of Israel where a number of the rockets have landed and a number of fires have broken out. This is actually, I believe this is based on the timing. So this is, I believe, just a few hours ago, actually. And then what we're going to show you now is another assault we go. This one hasn't started yet. The camera was rolling and then just picks it up. It's going to come in on the right there. There we go. All right, and then actually, what I'd like to do. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, so let's go back here. All right. So again, latest numbers: Israel has carried out over 600 airstrikes, and it looks like Palestine or Hamas has fired more than double that in rockets, and it is currently escalating. Now, we have learned that literally just over about an hour ago, ground forces from Israel appear to have moved into the Gaza Strip. Now, there's been some confusion. There's been some redactions, some clarifications. So as of this moment, we don't know exactly what's going on. Initially, it was suggested that this was a ground invasion, that they were sending in troops and that they were literally starting a full-blown invasion. Later, it was reported that no, what they meant by ground forces was really just artillery and tank fire, which they've actually been doing basically since Monday. However, at present, The Guardian is reporting that they suspect, and based on what I've seen, I would tend to concur, that there has been at least some legitimate troop movement into the Gaza Strip at this point. That would technically be, well, technically it's an invasion, or you could call it an incursion. But The Guardian is reporting that it's unclear the extent of this incursion. It could be anything between a limited raid or part of a much larger offensive. However, at this point, there is at least some credible evidence that Israel has now moved into the Gaza Strip with ground forces, which would represent yet another escalation. Again, Netanyahu has essentially said until he really makes them regret this, he's not going to stop. So we'll see. Titan has asked, are there any numbers for the Palestinians? Yes. The Palestinian Health Ministry reports 69 dead and 388 wounded, but those numbers are, last I saw, at least 12, maybe 24 hours old. Israel has definitely had a significantly greater number of killed and more rockets landing there. But again, one problem is, as I said, 300 of the rockets fired by Hamas have actually landed in the Gaza Strip. The rockets didn't make it far enough. They keep getting pushed back. The artillery keeps pushing them back, so they can't get close enough to accurately fire, which, of course, is the point of the artillery. So they give it a shot, and if they don't make it, they hit people in their own Gaza Strip. Passive voice makes your sentences flat. My sentences are not made flat by the passive voice. At any rate, let's see. So we're going to keep an eye on that, but you know, I don't know that there's going to be anything breaking. Just sort of regular escalations. If there's a full ground invasion, we may break for that. So we will see. Now we also have the Marine Corps. Or sorry, I shouldn't say the Marine Corps, but the first known active duty member, it's a Marine Corps officer, has now been charged in the Capitol riot. Major Christopher Warnagiris, stationed in Quantico in Virginia, has been charged with 5 counts, including assaulting and obstructing police during a civil disorder and obstructing an official proceeding of Congress. He made his first court appearance on Wednesday. He is a field artillery officer. He's served 4 deployments, including in Iraq and Afghanistan. 4 other people with military ties have been charged in the riot. They were all part-time in either the National Guard or Army Reserve, and 42 other military veterans have been part of the 400 arrested on federal charges. So we will see what happens there. Meanwhile, more than 100 Republicans are preparing to release a letter expected by the end of this week, threatening to form a third party if the Republican Party does not drastically change. This is a response to Donald Trump's stranglehold on the Republicans, which signatories of this letter say is unacceptable. Nobody yet knows who signed or who is participating, only that it is purported to include prominent members and former members of the Republican Party. Quote, "This is us saying that a group of more than 100 prominent Republicans think the situation has gotten so dire with the party, it is now time to seriously consider whether an alternative might be the only option. I am still a Republican, but I am hanging on by the skin of my teeth because of how quickly the party divorced itself from truth and reason," says Miles Taylor. He is a former Trump Department of Homeland Security official who wrote a book condemning Trump. He wrote this anonymously, and he says, quote, he continues, quote, "I am one of those in the group that feels strongly that if we cannot get the GOP back into a rational party that supports free minds, free markets, and free people, I am out. And a lot of people are coming with me." This is also in part due to, or believed to be due to, what is happening with Liz Cheney, who is the I think she's a minority leader in Congress and is set to be ousted as a result of her breaking with the party's views that everything Trump says is necessarily true, which it turns out she's got a point. So that letter is expected out, and again, Mr. Taylor, who is the one who has orchestrated this, he has said that basically the signatories include among them former officials at both the state and national level, governors, members of Congress, ambassadors, cabinet secretaries, state legislatures, and Republican Party chairmen. So presumably former, if it's the current one, that would be cute. The Colonial Pipeline, which provides nearly half of the diesel gasoline consumed on the East Coast and jet fuel to a number of major airports, was seized by a cyber criminal gang called DarkSide, who shut down over 3,000 miles of pipeline from Linden, New Jersey to Houston, Texas. This result, my dog is very bothered by all of this, so he gets a little triggered when we talk about it. So we'll just try to. This resulted in a brief but significant fuel crisis in North Carolina, Virginia, and Florida, all of whom declared states of emergency. The hackers actually were using ransomware and held the pipe for ransom, demanding money in order to release it. Between 5 and 10% of the gas stations in North Carolina and Virginia ran out of fuel. Demand for gasoline in these areas jumped by at least 20%, and the state of Georgia suspended sales tax on gasoline, while North Carolina suspended vehicle fuel regulations, and the EPA relaxed fuel restrictions through May 18th in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. in a hope to reduce demand for gasoline until the problem is completely corrected. DarkSide is a cyber terrorist, cyber criminal gang, and is believed to be based out of Russia or Eastern Europe. And they, let's see, as I said, they use ransomware. The pipeline has successfully been restarted, but it is expected to take several days to get up to normal. Meanwhile, Chuck Watson, director of Enki, I think it's pronounced, which is a think tank which studies the effects of disasters on the economy, has said, quote, "Markets will go crazy, but 2 weeks from now, nobody will remember." So, yeah, right. We're having a porpoise having a meltdown in the live chat. This is her area. She's entitled. She's right too, by the way, but nonetheless, yeah, yes, yeah. We need better internet security. I think in general, I think we are much more vulnerable than we like to think. We think that because we basically invented the internet, we basically invented computers, that means we're the best at it, and that is not even close to true anymore. So we're not prepared, and Russia is demonstrating that quite easily. The CDC has updated their guidelines for controlling COVID-19, and they have said that people do not need to wear masks. or practice social distancing, either indoors or outdoors, so long as they are fully vaccinated. They cited 3 studies, 1 from Israel and 2 from the United States, that show that the vaccines have been effective. However, this does appear to ignore 2 problems. One, how do you know who's been vaccinated and who hasn't? How do you know who is permitted to wear a mask and who isn't? And second, what of the wild types, which have not ravaged the U.S. yet, but in part because we have been much better about the masks. Nonetheless, that is the current CDC regulation. The World Health Organization disagrees and says that the United States should, in fact, continue to wear masks both inside and outside. The CDC is saying that they will leave it to a personal decision to people who wish to do it. Nearly 117 million Americans are now considered fully vaccinated against COVID-19. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has set up a lottery, and he has said he will give 5 random citizens of Ohio $1 million each. 5 will receive $1 million each, so long as they've been vaccinated against COVID. This has sparked outrage. Yeah, obviously. Meanwhile, Republican Representative Taylor Greene has confronted yesterday Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez outside of the House chamber on Wednesday afternoon in the latest of several confrontations. She began shouting at her colleague and asking why she would support Black Lives Matter and Antifa, which she said were both far-left activist and terrorist groups. She falsely claimed that, I may add. She also called her a radical socialist. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has suggested that the House Ethics Committee should investigate and called this verbal assault and abuse on a fellow congressman. And finally, we are going to show you, and let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. This one, this is good. This is going to work great on the full screen anyway. And let me just see. I want to get, I think I've, just because we had to, all right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to show a, yeah, that's perfect. All right, so what you're seeing now is a neighborhood in Houston. And what you're seeing right there in kind of the middle area is a tiger. Now, that is a real tiger. His name is, his name is India, and he is 9 months old. And he is having himself a grand old time in some neighborhood somewhere in Houston, Texas. Nobody's entirely sure where. Let's see. This here is India sunning himself on somebody's lawn. And yeah. So, how did this tiger get there? That's a very good question. And the piecing together of that has been rather interesting. At one point, somebody attacked the tiger. And by attacking the tiger, I meant they jumped the tiger, straddled the tiger, and started to wrestle it to the ground. Now, when I first saw that, I thought that this had to be cray-cray. The police were a lot smarter than I am and realized only one human being on the planet would actually wrestle that tiger. Well, maybe 2. 1 would be the certifiably insane. 2 would be the owner. So the man who wrestled this tiger to the ground and tried to get the tiger into an SUV, and nonetheless, the tiger is still now on the loose. But the man who tried to wrestle the tiger, his name is Victor Hugo Cuevas. And Mr. Cuevas, it turns out, has had 2 run-ins with the law. One of the prior ones was for holding illegal animals. and this would certainly qualify as an illegal animal. Now, he said he has no idea what the tiger was doing there, and at first was unable to explain why he was wrestling the tiger. He then later said, okay, no, the owner of the tiger hired him to recoup the tiger. Nonetheless, it does appear like it was probably his tiger and somehow escaped. And he's also, as it turns out, had skipped bond on a murder one charge that he was facing. So they had a little chat with him about that. But he is now actually back out on bond, and he and, a number of concerned citizens in Houston are looking for that tiger. Now, if you do see this tiger, if you happen to live in Texas, and you do see the tiger, we here at In Time do not recommend that you engage the tiger in any way. Don't taunt the tiger. Don't make fun of the tiger. Don't wrestle the tiger, please. And don't, no, these are all counterproductive things. 911 is the appropriate thing to do in the unlikely event that you look out your window and you see a tiger. And that is the rundown for this week on In Time. Thank you all for joining us. What I'm going to do is I am going to check the live chat real quick and see if anybody has said anything that I would like to catch up on. And then, barring that, that's what you do. Well, we ended up explaining to my daughters over dinner, Steve Irwin, who, for those of you who know who Steve Irwin was, had a penchant for running up to crocodiles and saying, well, that's an awfully docile crocodile. Let's see if we can agitate him, and then slapping it across the face to just really tick the crocodile off. That was Steve Irwin. Yeah. So thank you all for joining us. This is actually our first, Jake, dear Lord, Jake is just, really, Jake, really, just like every show. It's like a solipsism joke, Jake. You think it's funny. You think people are laughing with you. They're really laughing at you. I'm laughing at you. I don't know about Titan. Titan's a juvenile. I don't know what he's laughing at. Sandra, yep, a tiger. People wonder why I want my rifle. It's getting harder and harder for me to defend any of my arguments against Xandering. That's all I have to say. It's just I don't. Yeah, that's a tiger. And to be fair, he's a cub. Only in Texas. All right. So yeah, well, if you're in Texas, make sure you didn't hit a tiger. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thank you for joining us on the new channel. And like I said in that earlier video, it's going to be, for a little while, it's going to be, you're going to see those low numbers, and I'm going to be like, oh man, but it's going to be better, I think, for everybody. So I do appreciate those of you who've come over and joined us in this little venture here, switching over. So we have Nick of Time. We're going to be discussing Hume's problem of induction. It's just like a 10-15 minute video on Hume's problem of induction. And then we've got the week after that, Floyd FP is coming to teach us all about the book of Daniel. And it's just one of my favorite books to discuss. So that's going to all be on In Time. Yeah, a cub like that can shred you and say, yeah, I'm aware. All right. So thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.